There are GMP refresher courses. Everybody comes, the executives, everybody sits there. They dream a bit. They sign the paper. They go out. GMP states also in the UDRLX, it also states in the CFARS, you need to check effectiveness, right? So, and I think here everybody misses here. So how do you check the effectiveness of that, and how do you create a training education that really makes people think, that makes them involved, right? So this is something else that you do a lot by incorporating this into the DNA, by specific education that you provide, and it's sometimes quite unique also. So how do you create such GMP education training courses that involves everybody, from the highest executives to the operators, logistics, and so on? So how do you bring everybody together?
It's a great question. It's a great sort of story that you put in my mind. People have GMP training, and typically someone somewhere says, I've got to have GMP training this year, so let's check that off the list. It's just the checking the box. So we bring the drones into the room. It's boring and nobody pays attention. Yes, I've been there many times. It's just so bad. So there are three things that have to come together for this to be successful. And number one is the person delivering the message, the trainer, the coach, the mentor, whatever it is you call that person. They have to be able to be dynamic. They have to be able to tell the stories. They have to be able to connect the dots. If you go out there, and typically what we do is we say, well, GMP training has to be done, so that's quality. They have to do the training. And quality, it may be very good at quality, but they may be really bad at training. So I equate it to, and I often tell the story of the person who cooks the hamburger in the restaurant. You got the great hamburger cooker, but they don't run the restaurant. So the person who really knows quality may not be the best in running the training department. So you've got to get the right trainer to be able to deliver the message. And then the second point of that pyramid is the message. What is it you're trying to do? Again, what's the vision of this? What is our mission with this? You've got to put together the message. It has to be right. It has to be pointed. It has to be very specific. It has to be very germane to your organization, to the times that are going on. It can't be the same message year after year, or people just tune out. So you've got to have the right message, a great message to deliver. And then thirdly, you've got to have the presentation, the delivery of this. What do you put it together in? Is it, everyone uses PowerPoint. What is it? How do you present that? Do you have pictures? Do you have information? I've seen so many PowerPoints where it's a slide and it's line after line after line of words. And you just look at it, and what they've done is take sections of code or sections of an investigation, and they plop it into this thing, and you're supposed to read it. That's not training. That's putting a book up on the screen so you can see it. You've got to have the right message, or the presentation has to be the right way. The message has to be delivered in the presentation by the person that can deliver that effectively. If you get those three together, you're really on your way to success. If you combine all of that, the ability to sell GMPs to the audience, to read them, to see what their reactions are, to understand what they're thinking. And that takes a really good trainer to see that and say they're bored, or they're getting distracted, or the room is too hot, the room is too cold, the room isn't well lit. All these things, you've got to have that ability to sit there and say, am I delivering the message? Is my presentation and format the right way? Tie it together by the person, you, to deliver it effectively. And to the point you're talking about, how do I know I did this correctly? It really gets down to, you can have a test at the end of it saying, okay, what are these things? I personally, I don't know how effective that is. I'm not one that's really big into that. I really look at effectiveness checks as, if I'm delivering a particular message, then I understand that there's a particular problem I'm working to resolve. And so the effectiveness check is, after they leave the room where I'm talking to them about this, I go by a week later, a month later, I can either talk to them and reinforce that message and say, is this something that's effective? Or I can get the data, say, I'm trying to correct documentation errors. Did I effectively resolve that? So you can have an effectiveness check of, did the problem get resolved by this? And monitor that over time, because it usually is, people come out, they remember a certain amount. As the day goes by, they remember a little bit less. As a week goes by, a little bit less. As a month go by, a little bit less. So you've got to be able to reinforce that so it stays constant. And then you can combine, measure that. Am I doing this correctly, or am I seeing this slope? So it's a great question, and it's taking that mentality back and saying, how do I deliver that? And what is my program to make sure I'm effective at doing that and verifying that I'm successful? We look at it success, as you said. I have 100 people. I got 99 people in my training session, and they all signed the document. Therefore, I'm successful in my GMP training. And that's an error. That is not correct.